February 2025 has some really lovely energies going on. We've got Venus in Pisces all month, bringing this very lovely, harmonious energy into our relationships, connecting deeper to what we love. We've got Jupiter going direct in Taurus, which is also this kind of energy in Rohini, this expansion of things that we love and enjoy in life, and pleasure and luxury and enjoyment. And then we have also Mars going direct at the end of the month. We'll talk about the full moon, the new moon, and all the transits happening in February, because next month in March is going to be a lot of big changes. But this month is a bit more stable and harmonious. So it's a month to get more into harmony in your life and more in alignment. And I'll talk about how you can work with this in today's episode. If you're new here, I'm Jeremy Devins. This is the Quiet Mind Astrology podcast, where I share about Vedic astrology, the ancient Indian astrology, using the sidereal zodiac, which is more true to astronomy. So it's more accurate to what's actually happening in the sky right now. So when I say that Venus is in Pisces, you can actually see this with your own eyes with the Night Sky app or any stargazing app, or if you're in a place where you can see the stars. And if you want to get your own free birth chart to follow along with, to understand your own chart and your own energies, go to quietmindastrology.com, get your free chart. You can take the 101 course where I walk you through how to decode your chart. You can also schedule a one-to-one reading to go deeper in how this all affects you personally. That's where it all comes together in the personal readings. So the first date of note in February is on February 4th, when Jupiter goes direct in Rohini. So that means Jupiter's been retrograde for the last several months. Now it's going direct, which brings expansion into finances. It's a good time to increase your income, grow your finances, grow in what you love to do. It's a great time for cooking. If you enjoy cooking or learning about cooking, enjoying the senses, enjoying art, music, sounds, taste, touch, all the senses, getting some essential oils, enjoying sound healings, playing beautiful music in your home. If you like mantras or meditative music, this is a great time to be bringing that more into your life throughout February, all in general, but especially on February 4th, Jupiter going direct. Now we see this expansion in life. And I talked about when Jupiter went retrograde several months ago. It's this cycle that happens every year of Jupiter is like expansion and contraction. It's a lot of expansion when it's direct and some contraction when it goes retrograde, time to slow down. But now, February is a time to go a little faster, grow a little more, reach out a little bit more, try some new things, take some risks. And not too much risk though, because Taurus is more about stability and family and sustainability. So this is where we want to have some calculated risk or calculated growth in ways that we want to learn more about ourselves and what we love in our relationships and our own enjoyment in our lives. If you have some sort of teacher in your life, this is a great time to connect with them, maybe try new teachers. Like if you're wanting to learn more about finances, having a financial teacher or mentor or guide or coach in some way, or relationship mentor or guide or coach, because that's Taurus, finances, family. This is Taurus stuff. Jupiter is the teacher, the guru, the wise light in the dark that helps us see things that we might not otherwise see. So over the next several months, it's a time to explore, learning in new ways, finding new teachers, new guides, new paths to explore. I've been reading the book, The Mastery of Love by Don Miguel Ruiz. Highly recommend. I've worked with one of his apprentices a lot over the years and seen him talk in person. And he's an amazing, sweet human being, great energy. And he most famously wrote the book, The Four Agreements, which is also very good. Even if you've read it, go back to it. It's very good. And he wrote this book, The Mastery of Love, as well, which I'm really enjoying. And that's a great sign of working with the energies of this month, like Jupiter and Taurus, Venus and Pisces. Understanding ourselves in relationships is a really big theme with this time, and that's a great book for that. The next notable transit is on Thursday, that's Friday, February 7th. The moon is exalted, and anytime the moon is exalted in Taurus, this is harmonious energy, positive energy, and it's there with Jupiter this month. So it's a great time to do all the things I just said, basically just are enhanced. And your emotional awareness, and a great time for doing things that emotionally nourish yourself. So like therapy, counseling, coaching, talking with a friend, yoga, meditation, very favorable and auspicious on February 7th. And anything to do with maternal issues, like connecting with your mom, if you are a mother, connecting with your children on a deeper level, and anything to do with taking care of women's health or things like this are very favorable on the day of the moon exalted. Next is on February 11th. This is a Tuesday. Mercury moves into Aquarius. Mercury moves quickly through the signs. Aquarius is a scientific approach. So the planet of intelligence, communication into a scientific approach of things. So it's a great time for learning, trying new things. And if you're wanting to like set up some new goals or intentions in your life, this is a good time to do it around Mercury in Aquarius, which will be there for a little while all the way to the new moon, which usually the new moon is better for intention setting and things like this. But that will be coming up later in the month. Mercury will move into Pisces at the end of the month around the new moon. So this time, basically like the middle of February, it's a great time for learning technical things in your field of interest. If you're wanting to get new technology, new phones, new computers, this is a favorable time to do it. Mercury is going to go retrograde next month in March. So I don't recommend any of these new technology things in March and April, up to the middle of April. So basically mid-March to mid-April is when Mercury will be retrograde next month. So while it's still direct, if there is anything you need to do with handling like logistics, computers, finances, tech, things like this, cleaning devices out, backing up files, organizing files, these kind of things are more favorable, while Mercury's in Aquarius in middle of February to almost to the end. Next notable date is on February 12th with a full moon in Ashlesha and Cancer. This is a very deep, transformative energy of Ashlesha. It's about getting under the deeper needs and emotional needs and wants in yourself and where you feel really fulfilled. This could be like a big emotional release during this full moon on the 12th. It's a Wednesday. And it's a good time to just allow yourself to feel whatever is present. The full moon brings things to the surface. It's a time of culmination, can be celebration, can be a need to express emotionally. It's a good day to do some sort of ceremony or ritual to acknowledge this shift of energy in yourself, this culmination of energy. Gratitude for what has been, celebrating what has been, gratitude for what you have. And Ashlesha is a very deeply transformative, transmuting kind of energy where there may be some emotional blocks that finally move around the 12th. And if there's somewhere you're confused or unsure emotionally, not quite sure how you feel about a situation, you'll have a lot more clarity after this on the 12th. If you need to cry, cry. If you need to express anger, hurt, fear, whatever the feeling is, like this is the day to feel it and let it through. And there's less resistance here. It also means it's important to consider your choices or like what you're doing around this day. Like if somebody wants to have a really difficult conversation with you, you're both probably not going to be in the best state to address this in the most productive way necessarily. So if there is any sort of tension in a conversation or communication or relationship, that's not the day to necessarily handle that in a healthy way. It is the day to feel it though, to maybe process it with a therapist or journaling or practices for yourself or someone you trust where you can have the space to express yourself and feel whatever needs to be felt. But just know that the emotions are heightened. So tensions can be heightened and conflict can be more emotional and reactive during that day. So it's a good day to express those emotions in a constructive, healthy, intentional way. And it can be very transformative, very healing. It could also potentially be destructive with Ashlesha energy, where it maybe is ending something abruptly. So, if you feel like you're on the verge of something like this, changing a job or a relationship or something like that, and want to make sure you don't do something too drastic or intense, then this is the day to avoid that, but also the day to do the internal work of what's really there. And then, maybe you do need to make some changes in your life or decisions. Ashlesha is a very transformative energy, usually involves some level of big changes in life when we have the full moon here. And we have the eclipse coming next month and lots of big changes coming next month. So you might not feel like ready to actually make the changes yet and go through that portal into that new timeline of your life. But you may feel the emotional clarity coming now in mid-February. And Sun also moves into Aquarius on this date on February 12th. Sun in Aquarius with Mercury in Aquarius. As I mentioned, Sun just brings a spotlight to all this Aquarius energy. So you finding more of your soul essence, your creativity, your power, your inspiration, your leadership ability around areas to do with your individuality. So it is a great month for strengthening your sense of self and what is true and authentic to you and communicating that better and having a better understanding of your emotions. But Aquarius is a bit more cold and heady. So it's kind of the opposite of this Cancer energy, almost the opposite of this, where Cancer is very emotional in the water element. Aquarius is very intellectual in the air element. So there is a lot of value in exploring different ideas throughout the middle of this month and on until mid-March, so mid-February to mid-March, exploring new ideas, finding what really lights you up, and finding what really aligns with you independently, finding your sense of self and alignment, and exploring how to integrate these like scientific breakthroughs of the last few years, like AI and things like this, into your life. If you haven't done this already, that's the Aquarius kind of energy. We've had a lot of this over the last few years. So if you've been interested in exploring some of these new tools that we have available to us, this is a great time to do it before Mercury goes retrograde in mid-March, while Sun is in Aquarius, February to mid-March. So a good time for finding like where you can express yourself better in the sort of modern world we find ourselves with modern technology. And the world's evolving very fast, of course, and there's this idea like, people think that their jobs will be replaced by AI, but really they will be replaced by people who are using AI in the same way that like digital typewriters were kind of this scary thing back in the day. But it's really just like, well, it became this need to learn how to use that tool of the digital typewriter, or then eventually the word processor, and then the computer, and now the AI. So this is just another tool that we have as humans to use to better express ourselves and be true to ourselves and connect with more people. Aquarius is very socially oriented in the sense of like connecting more people, but is also very individualistic of more integrity to what is true for you. So it's like both global and both individual, which is very much what the internet is at, where it's at right now with Saturn and Aquarius over the last few years. So there's like heightened sense of individuality, but also heightened sense of connectivity. And this next month is about strengthening both of those. And then we have no major transits that following week, all the way up until February 24th, when Mars goes direct. So it's kind of a steady, stabilizing energy there in the third week of February. And then the last week of February, we got Mars going direct on 24th. This is a Monday. Mars has been retrograde in Gemini. Now it's going direct in Gemini. So throughout February, essentially, all the way to the last week, it's a time to go back over things that maybe ideas that you had, actions you needed to take, creative pursuits you wanted to explore, finding more laughter and fun in your life. Laughter is the best medicine. So if there's like comedians you like, friends that make you laugh, just having a little more fun and play in your life is very favorable when Mars is in Gemini. And getting more creative about your exercise routine, maybe trying group fitness classes or workout classes, that it's a good time to like explore and try some things like this while Mars is retrograde throughout the month. And then when it goes direct, now it's like new things, maybe trying new things, getting new ideas. Whereas throughout most of February, it's like trying things you've tried in the past, reviewing things, seeing what you've learned in the past. And you may need to redo things. You could try new things, but you may need to redo them and go over them again when Mars is retrograde. You may need to redo actions. You may need to go back over to-do lists. One of the ways I'm working with this is just like going back over all my projects and task lists and things like this that have piled up over the years in different ways, or unfinished projects, and seeing any open loops or unfinished actions there that can be resolved. Mars is about action. Gemini is about ideas, creativity. So if there's been a creative project that's been on the back burner for a while, throughout February is a good time to go back to it. And then starting from February 24th, Mars will be direct all throughout the rest of the year. So action moving forward. And Mars gets stuff done But while it's retrograde, it's like finishing unfinished stuff from the past. So it still gets stuff done, but it's like addressing unfinished stuff, reversing old things, revisiting old things, like changing old rules, old laws, old patterns, like rewriting them, just starting over. And now when Mars is direct, it's like, okay, now new things begin from February 24th. And then we have on February 26th, the Wednesday, Saturn Moon conjunction. This is typically a day that I recommend you just kind of lay low, no major decisions. If you can do something like self-care, massage, relax, have a day off or something like that, ideally, just routine, basic tasks, nothing too extreme. On Saturn Moon days, it's what I recommend. Often those are more challenging days overall for everybody. But especially if you have a moon in Aquarius in your chart, or Saturn in Aquarius, or really any planet in Aquarius in your chart, or Aquarius rising, you'll feel this a bit more on this February 26th. So that's a day to look out for. That's probably the most challenging day of the month, I would say, in general, for everybody. There's more personal things we could say if we do one-to-one reading, but for general, for everybody, 26th and the 27th is not the best either, because Mercury will go into Pisces. Mercury will move into debilitation that day. So Mercury, the planet of intelligence and logic, in Pisces, which is the opposite of this. It's about dreams, fantasies, ideals, visions, energy. So Mercury here, it can make it a little bit difficult to express what you need to say, express how you feel, to feel heard. You may feel a little blocked in your communication with Mercury in Pisces. But it's great for communicating about spirituality and connecting in this more intuitive way. It's great for working with energy and talking about things like astrology, chakras, kundalini, working with a subtle energetic realm, working with dreams. So while Mercury is in Pisces all throughout in March, so it goes into Pisces February 27th, and it stays there until it's retrograde on March 15th. And then it will stay that retrograde in Pisces until it goes direct on April 7th. And then it will stay there all the way until May 6th. Right. So this is a long stretch of Mercury in Pisces all through March, all through April, from February 27th until May 6th. I'll do a whole episode just on this because it's a big one. But just to know, it's a lot of Mercury in Pisces time. And I happen to have Mercury in Pisces in my own chart. I talk about this a lot because you might think it can't communicate well. And hopefully you think I can communicate decently. But I'm communicating about something very spiritual and energetic in astrology. So that's Pisces. So when I'm talking about that, I'm in my element. It's great. But if I were in a corporate job, which I just have no interest in and could never really do, it's never called to me. And in that kind of environment, I would struggle a lot more. And when I've worked in something like that, I've been told that I could communicate better in those environments. And I think I'm doing my best. But that very logical, like Mercury in Virgo, the opposite of Mercury in Pisces, Mercury in Virgo is where it's exalted, where it's just logical, linear, direct, clear, and concise. Very good for paperwork, things like this, office jobs, things where you need to be very direct, and like technical jobs, things like that. But when it's in Pisces, it's the opposite. So for all of us, we're experiencing this like reevaluation of our communication, this reimagining of our communication. And then at the end of March, we're going to have 7 grahas in Pisces. So very strong Pisces energy all year. And I'm hearing this, just still hearing it a lot. Like I mentioned recently, the word confusion is coming up more and more this year. I think it will continue to come up. Confusion is Pisces kind of quality. And as Pisces becomes very dominant throughout this year, there may be more new imaginings of things, new imagining of how we live our lives, new imagining of all aspects of life. And that comes with some uncertainty or confusion of like, well, how is it going to be? What's going to happen? Where is this going? What does it mean? So when you have confusion, I always recommend going to the root source of something. Like if I'm confused about a yoga pose, well, where did this come from? What's the root of it? What's the origin I can get to? If I'm confused about something I see on the news, like what's the origin of this? Can I get to the original person talking about it and try to understand what they're saying? Or if somebody's confused and I'm talking to them, like try to understand like, well, what's at the root of what you're saying? Or where is this coming from? Or wanting to understand, be more curious. You're confused about a decision you're making in your life, trying to get under the layers to the root of what's really motivating you and what's important to you. And that's not always easy, but it can come clearer through visions and meditation, like doing some sort of visualization of your ideal life, your ideal body, your ideal relationships, your ideal health. And this is Pisces kind of energy at its best. It's like dreaming up, imagining the future. And someone else who had Mercury in Pisces was Albert Einstein. And he said, imagination is more important than reason. And you would think he might not say something like that, but he did. And he was very imaginative and spent a lot of time sort of daydreaming about his work and kind of coming to these discoveries through the logic of Mercury, but then the bigger thinking of Pisces. So use your logic to think bigger, dream bigger, imagine what's possible in your life. And don't limit yourself, because Pisces is going beyond the limits. It's next after this, things are going to move all into Aries really in a couple of years. It's going to be a lot of this Aries energy. So as we're in this Pisces energy for a while, but more and more Aries energy will be coming in. And that's more just like action starting. Let's just go for it. But Pisces is like, well, what are we going to go for? What are we going to start when we get there? And first we got to dream it up. And every building starts with a blueprint. And the blueprint actually starts with a vision first. So we've got to back up to that. Like, well, what's the vision for yourself, for your life? Mercury is inviting us to look at this. And then the last transit at the end of February on the 28th is the new moon in Aquarius. So a lot of Aquarius energy this month, a lot of Pisces energy coming next month. And with all of this I just said about the vision, the new moon is the perfect day to dream up that vision, to take time to set intentions for the new lunar cycle coming through March. And we'll talk about that more when we get there later on in the podcast as we get closer to that new moon. So if you found this helpful, leave an honest review on Apple Podcasts. You can go on to quietmindastrology.com, get your free birth chart, and learn how to read it with the Decode Your Birth Chart workshop. You can get the annual horoscope, the Mindful New Year program, to help you plan for the year. If you still are in that energy of planning for the year, we're still, we're just getting started here. The Lunar New Year just happened. And it gives you the calendar as well. You can put it on your calendar app and see all the transits coming up with interpretations. And if you want a one-to-one reading, you can go to quietmindastrology.com/reading and schedule a one-to-one reading with me where we'll look at your chart, your dashas, your transits, everything totally personalized to you. And I give you a PDF report with that as well, and a lot of great notes to work with. So that's at quietmindastrology.com. Thanks for listening, and look forward to sharing more with you next time.